Hi, Jill, we can go ahead and get started. We have a quorum. We just have to make sure everybody shows himself on the camera before we can get started.
Y'all are
Now we are good to go.
okay. Ebony, what?
I'm sorry, Jewel. I was just making sure Lindsay had been assigned as the captionist, but she has.
Okay.
It's not, it shows on my screen, but not up there. I don't know why. Like it has the CC by her, I signed it.
Okay, y'all ready?
We're making sure that Lindsay is attached to the closed caption. Give us just a second. Jill, oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, we're good to go, Jill.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. The time is 12:03. I would like to call the meeting to order. Rikisha, would you mind calling the roll?
Not a problem. Dr. Baravecchio? Mr. Bennett? Mr. Billings? Mr. Blanchke? Ms. Sashery?
Here.
Ms. Crane? Ms. Harmon?
Here.
Ms. Kelly Aduli?
Here.
Mr. Macaluso? Ms. Nguyen? Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Zhu?
Here.
All right, Jill, we have 7. You have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you, Rikisha. Before we get started, can you also review the rules, please?
Yes, ma'am, not a problem. For committee members and members of the public attending in person, please raise your hand to speak and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking. To help the meeting room run smoothly, please keep side conversations to a minimum and comments related to the topic we are discussing. For those committee members who are attending virtually, remember you must be on camera and have your first and last name showing to be counted toward the quorum. Please keep microphones muted unless called upon by the chair. Electronically raise your hand to request to speak and wait to be called on by the chair. For attendees, electronically raise your hand to request to speak. Once recognized by the chair, your microphone will be turned on. After speaking, the microphone will be returned to me. Also, the Q&A is to only be used by those needing an ADA accommodation to participate in the meeting. Public comment will not be accepted via the Q&A except for those individuals who requested the accommodation. As for order, committee members in person and virtually will be allowed to speak first. Public members in person will then be called on, followed by public participating virtually who have their hand raised. Comments in the Q&A will be addressed last. As with all hybrid meetings, it can be difficult to keep track of all those wanting to speak in person and virtually, so please be patient. All comments and questions from the public may be subject to 2 minutes at the discretion of the chair, so please keep that in mind. Depending on time constraints, we may also limit comments to one per issue. Also, comments about a person's character will not be allowed. Finally, members of the public will have the opportunity to provide public comment before each vote and during designated public comment periods. The chair may also use their discretion to determine if comments will be accepted outside of those times.
Okay, thank you, Rakisha. Okay, so now at this time is approval of the January meeting summary. It should be on Rakisha or the council shared it. Everyone should have received it, which was attached in the agenda you received via email. Can y'all see me?
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
There is also a copy in your committee packet. At this time, I need a motion to adopt the January meeting summary.
That the January meeting summary or minutes be adopted.
Okay, Mr. Williams. Motions to adopt the January meeting summary. Is there a second?
Second.
Robbie Smith. Second, is there any discussion? Any public comment? Thank you. The January meetings have been accepted now. Okay, now we are moving on to our non-contractual updates. Is Bernard in the room?
He is not. He hasn't made it in the room. And Mr. Bennett is also out today, but we do have Mr. Williams, where he can give the update if you would like.
Okay, Mr. Williams, take it away, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. For Office of Aging and Adult Services, we're continuing to work with HCBS Strategies. I mentioned previously that's the vendor we are contracting with to do a full review and revamp of our Community Choices Waiver program. And not just that, of course, we, as I mentioned before, we're looking to go with a acuity-based or needs-based wait list for the Community Choices Waiver rather than first come, first serve. But in addition to that, we're also looking at ways to develop a full continuum of care and from entry into receiving services under the Office of Aging and Adult Services, whether that be a state plan service or a waiver service. We want to make sure that participants' needs are met, not just by receiving the personal assistance services. 90% of the services received in the Community Choices Waiver are personal assistance services. So we want to make sure that we can look at other options, whether that be under waiver or under a state plan service, where those needs can be met and not only be met via the Community Choices Waiver. So we continue to work with HCBS Strategies, our team, and HCBS Strategies. We meet bi-weekly. There are also some ad hoc meetings that occur both internally and to include HCBS Strategies. But we are moving along in that process and making sure that we have all our I's dotted and T's crossed as it relates to what will require a state plan amendment and what will require a rule change through CMS. So that process continues. We're hoping by June that we will at least be in a posture where we can make the recommendations to Medicaid of how we plan to move forward. As far as any updates on the budget, again, we are not facing any budget reductions for the Office of Aging and Adult Services. We have pretty much a standstill budget request. The budget continues to move through the legislative process. We continue to monitor, but there is nothing right now that for us is a cause of concern as it relates to the budget. Bills we're following, we have several that we are monitor on. No bills that where OAS is listed as the lead agency on any of the bills that are going through the process. But again, we do have some bills that we're monitoring. Namely, there are several bills going through the process on the House side, or that originated on the House side, and some on the Senate side that involves nursing facilities. One in particular, the moratorium on nursing facilities, an amendment was added to one of those bills last night. So we're continuing to review that to see if there will be a fiscal note associated. And we can speak with our executive management team within the department to see if there are any meetings going to be necessary with the author of that bill to make any suggestions with regard to the amendment or any additional amendments that we may need to add for clarity. So that's my update.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gary. Again, we are like one person short. Like, no, sorry. We have just enough people for a quorum. So can I just reiterate that everyone please have their cameras on the entire time? Thank you. And Ms. Crane, welcome. Elena, oh, thank you, Gary. Elena, you are recognized by the chair.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know that at 1:20 I will have to get off because I have a meeting at my daughter's school. So I don't know if anyone else is joining the meeting, but I do have to leave at 1:20.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Crane, you're recognized by the chair.
Thank you, ma'am. I am working on video. I'm having technical difficulties this morning, so I do have volume and speaker, but I'm trying to work on the video.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so okay, so is OCDD coming at all?
Sure. He didn't reach back to let me know he'll be here. But if he doesn't provide an update today, he can provide it in the full council meeting.
Okay. Okay, cause Brian is not here, and Gary spoke, so Elena, you're gonna be impressively early for that meeting. Okay, so now we have the contractual updates, which is in our status in the status reports, which are not ready yet. So I guess we still can move on to the staff's updates. So first up is Stephanie with her activities.
So just to, I guess, reiterate what Jill was saying, the status report is not ready yet. It will be ready for the full council meeting and it will be posted on the website prior to that. These are the updates, like the contractual updates. As for my contracts, because of the timing of this meeting, I have January and a January and February update, so it doesn't include March yet because they haven't had to submit those invoices and those documents. So if I get that information before the status report, it will be included on there also. So that way you can kind of read any other update, any other update there might be. So I'll start with partners and policymaking. There were 22 applicants that were accepted into the 2026 partners class. 18 completed the January session, beginning the program. Of those 18, 6 of them were self-advocates. There's been 3 sessions of the partners. So there was the January session. The speaker was Guy Caruso, and he spoke about the history of disability. The second session was in February, and they had a bunch of guests. So Mary Bro from LaPi, Tori Fontenot from Latan, Courtney Ryland from LRS, and Stacy, oh, I'm probably gonna say this wrong, Stacy Hoagland, on inclusive education. And then the third session was in March, and that included kind of information on the legislative process. So Ebony Haven was a speaker. She's talked about the history of Act 378. Lacan leaders, Angel and Christina talked about Lacan, and Liz Gary talked about the legislative process. So that's kind of just a little overview of what's been going on at Partners. And then I'm gonna move on to YLF. So as of March 9th, YLF has received a total of 37 applications. 22 of them are staff applications, 15 are delegate applications. So of the staff applications, 16 interviews have been completed, with 2 other ones being scheduled. And then 4 applicants have not responded to the interview request. And then for delegate applications, they've completed 6 interviews. 2 of them are scheduled and 6 have not responded to follow up for that interview. Additionally, all of the medical team has been confirmed. So that's including 2 RNs and 1 paramedic on staff. They've also been coordinating, the YLF team has been coordinating with prior staff and delegates to make a trip to LSU East Campus. And the idea is to make a video that's going to be sent out to delegate families prior to camp, to just kind of give them a little rundown, show the campus, and talk about different things that are also in like their delegate packets. The next activity is 1.1.8, which is abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Team Dynamics they sent a survey, and I talked about it at the last quarterly meeting. So they sent us the survey results. They received 68 responses across the state. They used those survey results to schedule the sessions, so they scheduled 9 sessions. The information in that survey that they used was the best month for a session, the best day of the week, and the best time of day in order to schedule those sessions. So on March 12th, we sent out an LADDC news. It included the registration for all 9 workshops. So we did get the dates and times for all those workshops. The first workshop was in Baton Rouge on March 27th from 10 to 12. And once we receive information from that, it will be shared and updated. And those are my updates.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Any questions? Did you do transition to adulthood?
Hey, Jill, I think that might have been a typo. That transition to adulthood is for the Education and Employment Committee.
Oh, yeah. See, Anthony, we were just talking about how good I was at this. It was a waste of conversation.
No, girl, not you.
Okay. So next we have Rakisha printing. I'm not gonna go rogue. Now, Rakisha, will you give us an update on the next few activities?
Yes, ma'am. All right, the first one I'll go over is LaCan. So as of March 2026, LaCan has 6,912 individuals registered for the council and the LaCan listserv to receive information and action alerts. Since October of 2025, we've had 6 action alerts with 624 actions being taken. We've had 1 yellow shirt day. We actually had another one today. But for the first yellow shirt day, we had 53 in attendance. I'll give the update for the yellow shirt day from today for the council. It'll be in the status report. But for the first yellow shirt day, I want to kind of give a shout out. We had 3 council members in attendance. We had 5 PIP individuals in attendance. And we had 19 post-secondary college students from Bridge Independence in attendance. So that was awesome. LaCan continues to host 2 LaCan Leader Conference calls per month to discuss current concerns, issues, and develop advocacy strategies and support the LaCan leader development. For legislative visits, they have done a total of 45 so far, with 29 of those visits being with key committee members. We also have a new LaCan leader for Region 4. Her name is Erica Joseph. So she's scheduled to start actually today, and she should be receiving her orientation pretty soon. For roundtables, we had 9 legislative roundtables across the state of Louisiana with 364 people in attendance. It was 48 self-advocates, 144 family members, 135 professionals, 25 that was considered as other or unknown, and we had 11 policymakers. So that is it for the update for LaCan. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee members? Y'all easy as hell.
Yes, I'm going to Families Helping Families. Since October 1st of 2025, we've had 17,032 individuals with disabilities and family supported. Over 31,864 units of information and referrals were completed. 297 trainings were conducted with 4,884 people in attendance. And we've had 386 outreaches conducted at hospitals, pediatricians, school districts, and ABA clinics. So that's the update so far for them.
Okay.
All right, so for the next two, we have one, the sex education, which they also call the Heart Initiative. We tag teamed with LSU on this initiative to develop a universally designed comprehensive educational curriculum for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, their families and professionals to navigate through sexual development, build healthy relationships, and achieve lifelong sexual health. So for that contract, I know we spoke in the planning committee about not having the contract signed, but since then, they actually signed and sent over the contract on last Wednesday, which was the 25th. So LSU has decided to move forward with the contract obligations. So for the status report, I'm hoping to have some updated information for you guys for that particular initiative. The next one I have is for Women's Preventative Health, which they also call HER Initiative. And for this initiative, they plan to develop plain language and have supported resources to address critical gaps in women's health identified by the CDC, and which is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and NIH, which is the National Institute of Health. And the same thing, they just signed the contract. It was actually sent over to us on Thursday, which was the 26th. So they're gonna move forward with that initiative as well. And that's it. That's what I have.
Okay. Thank you, Rikisha. Any questions for Rikisha before we move on to the final activity? All right. Brendan, will you please review our final activity?
Sure. So this is our Navigating the System initiative. And so in this project, we're focusing on helping folks with disabilities and their families better understand those systems that serve them. So developmental disability services, behavioral health services, and the Medicaid or managed care organizations. And also, so this is the third year of this initiative. And there's been a stronger focus on not only engaging people with disabilities in a greater capacity, but also adding a wellness component for their healthcare in this year. And so what they do is they look at their own health and creating health plans that work for them in this particular training now. And so each person that attends, they get a wellness guide that they can use to kind of create their own health and wellness plan. So over this past quarter, there were 4 trainings. In January, there was a statewide virtual training that had 13 people in attendance. This included self-advocates, family members, and professionals. In February, there was a training in Northeast Louisiana in Monroe. There were 33 people that attended that training. It was in person. Most of them were self-advocates. In March, I don't have the specific attendance numbers because we don't get March data until like the second week of April. But in March, we held 2 trainings in person. One was here in the Baton Rouge capital area, and one was in the Lake Charles area. We advertise all of these trainings and promote these trainings through our council social media and listserv. So there is one coming up on April 22nd at 10:30, and it's going to be at the East Bank Regional Library in Jefferson Parish. And so we sent out an LADDC news, I think maybe earlier this week or towards the end of last week, that shared information about that particular training. And for the most part, we've been seeing very positive results this year. So everyone that has completed a survey, so not everyone that attends completes a survey, but at least a majority of the people have been taking the surveys and they feel that they're better able to speak up for themselves or someone that they know as it relates to their healthcare. As a result of this particular training. And everyone has been indicating that they're learning things in this training that they did not know before. And that they've been very pleased with the training and the trainer. So this initiative is through the ARC of Louisiana. And so Ashley McReynolds is the trainer. I believe she also works with a representative from the department to assist with some of the wellness component as well. And a few, I pulled out some comments from some of the surveys. One individual said, I learned more about my disability and how I can manage it. Another one said that they liked learning new information about their own wellness and their disability. And we also had someone write in to tell us that they actually witnessed people that took this training actually putting it into good use. Lindsay Jones, who's the People First coordinator, she reached out to the trainer after a visit that she did to the Iberville ARC and stated that she saw people were actually using the materials that were handed out in the training to create their own wellness plans. They were very eager to talk about what they had learned. And two people had told her that they have already reached out to their insurance providers to ask for help with different things that they want to accomplish as far as what they think they need in order to better address their health needs. So that's the kind of impact that we want to see from our initiatives. And so overall, this is really helping folks feel more confident, more informed, and more in control of their health. So things have been going pretty well. And there'll be more trainings to come.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brendan. Hold on. Okay. Any questions before we move on to our next agenda item? No? Okay.
Ebony has her hand raised.
I'm sorry, Ebony?
It's okay, Jill. Thank you. I don't have any questions. This is more of a comment to the committee. I know Rakisha went over the sexual education and women's preventative health initiatives a little earlier, and nobody had any questions, but I kind of wanted to do a deeper dive into that. So we contracted with LSU. Just keep in mind that y'all's plan started October 1st. And so there was a lot of negotiations that we had to do with LSU. And so we are just now signing the contract. And these are two initiatives that the council, one was your targeted disparity for women's preventative health. And this is the first year that you guys decided to actually put money towards that initiative and I guess have a specific activity to address that disparity. And so I just kind of want to make sure you guys are aware that we just signed the contract last week. So the contract was supposed to start in October. Now we have worked out a timeline where we feel like LSU will complete it by September 30th, but we just kind of want the committee to be aware because this is something that we were hoping to get off the ground before now. It's April and they only have till September 30th to get what you guys wanted to have done. And so it's the same thing for the sexual education initiative. They were supposed to do pilots in the school district with like two different schools. And so I kind of want you guys to be aware that they're just starting. We just signed the contract last week. And so this is something that the council was really passionate about. We actually sent out surveys to individuals to see what the interest was. And so due to negotiations, we had to push everything back. So they have not started the contract yet, or they should have started. We signed last week. So we're hoping that they have done some work. Like Rakisha said, we'll give you guys an update at the full council meeting on April 30th. But I kind of want this committee to be aware because you guys are the ones that will make recommendations to the full council. And just to make sure that you guys know that, we're in a new 5-year plan. So the planning committee is going to be recommending newer activities. But since LSU has not done any of the work just yet, we may want to consider doing something in the new plan with these particular initiatives. And so I just kind of wanted to make sure that the committee is aware of that. And if you guys have questions, please ask, so that we can, if you guys have questions for LSU, just let us know and we'll try to get those questions answered. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware, or, you know, that you fully understand like how the process goes. We were supposed to start the contract on October 1st. Now, a lot of times, I'll just say this, a lot of times we don't have the contracts in place by October 1st just because of how the state does contracts. However, a lot of the vendors are, the contractors that we contract with, they'll go ahead and begin work. That was not the case with LSU. LSU did not, they were not gonna begin work until we actually got the full contract negotiated and signed. So I just want y'all to be aware of that, and if you guys have any questions, we'll try to answer.
I have a question. Oh, hello?
Still here?
Well, okay, there you are. When did y'all, when was the contract signed?
The contract was signed, we received one back on Wednesday of last week, and the other one was sent on Thursday of last week.
Okay. So let's see, that means that March 26th. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I think Karen had her hand raised, Jill.
Okay, Karen, you have the floor.
Oh, I just curious, so what's the reason the LSU, they just now to start until now? Even, looks they have a pressure for the contract, the content. So they now, so last year, how they provided proposal and why?
So they were sent out the contract, according to whatever they agreed to initially, do as far as the initiative. They were sent out a contract, they reviewed it, they didn't agree with some of the wording. So we had to send it out to our legal.
Yes.
So once we sent it out to legal, and if you want to talk more about that, once we sent it out to legal, I guess wording was changed or not
Yeah,
changed.
so it was some of the HIPAA information in the contract that they wanted taken out. However, we were concerned that the HIPAA information needed to stay in, so we contacted LDH Legal to make sure that they would be okay with us taking out that language. Well, they weren't. So we had to tell LSU that LDH Legal advised us that that language could not be taken out. And so it's just like a long process because the people that we're communicating with, they have to go and talk to their legal team to make sure that we're all in agreement. I will also say that some of the documentation that we require for reimbursement, we were negotiating on that as well. The usual documentation that we require of all of our contractors, there was an issue with that. And so we had to go back and forth with them on that. And so we were finally able to get everything worded correctly, and everybody agreed on everything, and like it just happened last week. So we did provide them with a deadline of, what was it, Rakisha, the 27th?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Friday, the 27th. If they didn't sign the contract by then we were going to recommend to the council that you all use that funding for something else, for another initiative.
So they still want to do this job, this
Yes, they have expressed interest, like the principal investigator, Dr. Mooney, he expressed interest that he was still wanted the contract. But again, these are like the LSU's legal team that's giving him, or their contract team that has to approve the contract before he can start the work. So he is still very interested in doing it. I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware that they are very far behind. And we might not see the results that you all wanted to see because they're just starting the contract in April and the contract's gonna end September 30th. So that doesn't give them a lot of time.
I still remember that time we looked so prefer LSU to do that activity,
Yes.
but yeah, we didn't know that result like that.
Jill, Mr. Williams has his hand raised.
Okay, Gary.
Yeah, so with this contract, with it being a part of the 5-year plan, were there any options in the contract, like, sometimes when the contract expires, you have an option of 2 1-year options to extend it? Or is it just, is September the final? Is there any, or are there any options to extend?
So yeah, that's, usually the council does 1-year contracts. So we don't write in the contracts where they can be an extension.
Okay.
But the reason I mentioned the planning committee is because right now they are coming up with the plan to recommend to the council at the full April meeting on the 30th. And so if you all are interested, you can make a recommendation to the planning committee that they include one of these initiatives or even consider like extending the contract. That's a recommendation that this committee could make to the planning committee, but the planning committee has been really focused on doing new initiatives because this will be a new 5-year plan. And so this is why it was so important that these initiatives get off the right track, because this was our first time doing like an actual activity that the council put funding towards, especially for their targeted disparity, which was the women's preventative health. And then the sex ed, we did a lot of research with the sexual education. We put in a lot of work to figure out what would actually work. And we thought that their plan was the council felt that their plan was very well written, which is why they agreed to give the contract to them. And so they just haven't started the work.
This activity or contract or this work is not a part of the upcoming 5-year.
At this point, it's not.
No, yeah. And again, so again, if you guys want to make a recommendation, but you could also wait. You could wait to see what progress they're gonna make. And then we may not even get a lot of interest in the sexual education initiative. We don't know. But that is something that I think that the committee, as well as the full council, should take into consideration. That let's say it does really well, and by September 30th, when we're giving y'all the October update, that we're like, it did really well, and we will recommend that y'all add it to the plan again because LSU just wasn't able to conduct the activity like they could have if they had started earlier. But I would also recommend that you guys maybe consider a different contractor, because I think we might run into the same issues.
Yeah.
In the future, if we were to ever contract with them again.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hold on. Angela?
Hey, Jill, I had a question. I don't know if I'm confused or not. I think I'm confused. So with Ebony saying what you're saying, like this initiative was going to be piloted in the high schools. I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. How was this going to be implemented? Y'all remember?
It was supposed to be middle school and high school, yes.
Middle school and high school. So if they're just
And they have
getting
changed it
certain
though.
things,
They updated
okay,
it. That's what the original agreement was. But they changed it to. They changed it to, hold on a second.
yes, ma'am.
So instead of them focusing just on the high schools and middle schools, they changed it to just individuals with intellectual disabilities, their families and professionals.
Okay, okay. So I guess my concern was, like
So
Ebony just said, if they're just now getting it and the contract is in September, when would they implement it? Because school's gonna be out in May, you know. So that's was my question. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Angela, any more questions? Okay, so, okay, so, okay. Okay, so on to announcements. Wait, I do have a question while I'm thinking of it. Where on the new website can you track what we're doing on legislation session?
Where it's located, the bill tracking. it's on
Yeah,
the- It's on the same page as our fact sheets.
okay.
So if you are at the website, if you go, like
I'm
you click on Lacan, there's an option there for fact sheets, and then it's on that page.
She. Haha. Okay, cool. Thank you, Brendan.
Welcome.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, any announcements, Rikisha or staff?
I just want to remind you guys that Education and Employment Committee will be meeting on next Wednesday, which is the 8th, from 1 to 3 at 378. They will be meeting on the following Wednesday, on the 15th, from 12 to 2. And the Executive Committee and full council will be meeting on the 30th. And it'll start at 8:30 a.m. Let's see, all the meetings will be held virtual, of course, and we will have the meeting held here. If you want to come in person. Other than that, that's all the updates we have.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm sorry, I have an update, Joe, is that okay?
yo,
So the planning committee is going to, let me make sure I have the right date, but I believe it's the 21st.
yes,
April 21st. It'll start at 9 a.m. It's already posted on the website, so anybody can join either in person or virtually, whatever you would like. It should last no more than 4 hours, so we have it scheduled from 9 to 1, and that is just to complete the business that wasn't completed at the last planning meeting.
okay. Angela, Is your hand raised?
No, it's just a nervous habit. I'm clicking my pen. Sorry, Jill.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, okay. So, okay. Oh, there's the third page. Okay, thank you, Rakisha. And then we already did other announcements. Do we have any public comment?
You do not.
Okay, then I hereby adjourn the meeting at 12:52. See y'all next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.